Hey, welcome back to my channel. Merry Christmas. Christmas is one of the most special times of the year for me. I love decorating for Christmas. I collect ornaments. If you also know, I collect Starbucks ornaments specifically. We love Christmas. And so I have some tips and philosophy on how to decorate a Christmas tree, no matter the type of tree you set up, whether it's a themed tree, new ornaments, or just ways to lay out your existing collection. I bet I have some special tips that will help you make your tree all the more beautiful for your holiday season. So stick around. Okay, here we go. We're gonna get ready to set up our tree. And the first thing you need to do is to prepare your space. Nothing worse than trying to bring out all the boxes and set up the tree and do all of that and not be ready for it. So organize your area, clean out where your tree is gonna go, and freshen it up. All the different things you need to do before you even get started so that you don't trip over things and just get distracted and just, okay, let's just be honest. Setting up a tree, we love the results, but the process sometimes is a little frustrating, so make it as easy as you can on yourself. We're going to be placing our tree at a new spot this year for this house, and this is the area we're going to put it. So we've cleaned out the floor. You can see we have a balsam hill tree, and I'm going to show you how that one gets set up, but any fake tree that you use will have a lot of the same principles. The first step of fluffing the branches will be unique to a fake tree, but I have got some ideas on real trees as well. And then of course, set out all your ornaments on a table or something that's a little closer to waist height so you don't need to reach down all the time and bending over. Make things easily accessible and organized so that you can decorate your tree more easily. And of course, put on some great music so that the experience has more of a memory attached. Put out some scented candles. One of the advantages of the balsam hill tree, as you saw in the time lapse there just a moment ago, is that it comes into two segments. It flips over the bottom one and immediately releases. Because it's stored in the bag, it's not as squished and compressed, and so it's easier to fluff. It comes pre-lit with two colors of light, a set of white lights and a set of colored lights. On a remote, I can choose either or both at the same time, and it's just an incredible tree. Of course, all fake trees have their advantages. Certainly Balsam Hill can be a little more expensive. They are available on Amazon, fairly inexpensive, and I have links below. We happen to live near the outlet, and so we were able to get this at a very reasonable price on a closeout sale, and I'm so happy we were able to do that. We do a fake tree for what Diane and I call our annual Christmas tree fight. We no longer have that, but join us for Vlogmas coming up, and we will spend one of our episodes talking about that and how humorous that is in our Christmas memories. One of the most important things on starting to decorate a fake tree is the fluffing of the branches and the needles. If you don't, it doesn't matter how expensive your tree is, it will still look like a fake tree. So we want to take some time on how to do that. This is a 9-foot tall slimline tree. We needed the height because, as you can see, the ceiling is so tall, and it's an incredible space to try to fill. And because we have all those boxes of ornaments right over there, so we needed a tall tree in order to handle it. We also needed the slimline because this space, this room, is not as large, and we used to have a much bigger width tree, and it just took up too much floor space to try to walk around. So the principle on the fluffing is on the lower branches in particular. Generally a pine tree is shaped where you've got the one branch coming out and then there are two branches on either side. And so you want to take two to the sides and then you want to lift something up. And so you always want to fluff those that way. So we take the two to the side, and then we take some of these in the center, we go up. And the reason you do that is because you want to fill in all these different gaps so that you don't see into the center, the wire and the fake post. You fill this in and make it look more natural, because trees just are not that smushed. So two side, one up, and then spread the branches or spread the sections out. This takes a while, and honestly, depending on the type of tree you have, how soft the needles are, it's gonna scratch your arms and hands just a little bit. Again, the process is not necessarily the most enjoyable, but the effects are joyous for the season. And so take the time up front to do it right. There are many advantages to having a fake tree. First off is that you can fill in holes. You get the real trees and there may be a gap there and there's nothing you can do. I remember my grandparents, they had a giant tree and he would buy two trees and he would take one tree and Frankenstein it. He would take off branches and he'd drill holes to fill that in. Now, most people don't do that. And a good fake tree allows you a nice, even space, and you can bend a branch if you've got a bigger ornament that you want to fill a spot, or you can close an area up, you can manipulate them. The other thing is we have wood floors, and in order to add the water constantly to keep a fresh tree staying as fresh as long as possible, when we were renters, we were very concerned about damaging the floors. And so you never have to water these. They never dry out. They never droop at the end of the season. They always look nice. So we're fake tree people all the way. We bring in smells and scents so that you feel like it's real. And frankly, we put so much on the tree that most people come in, they have no idea. All right, so I'm taking a break from the fluffing to get ready to do the lights in just a moment. Now, let's talk about the philosophy of lighting. We like a lot of lights. We are Disney folk. We are influenced by all the bright lights of the castle and the trees and everything there. We just love lights. But we also don't like all white lights or all color lights. We like a blend of them. The color lights add a bit of warmth, and the white lights add a bit of elegance that, makes it look sort of crystallized and so forth. We also like a little bit of blink, a little bit of twinkle. We don't like them to be just solid. So you can do whatever you like, but I just want to give you something to consider on approaching the way you light your tree. Now, our tree is pre-lit and it comes with 1,300 lights already installed, a mixture of both white and multicolor, as I said. But I'm going to add a few more lights. I have the ability to add the twinkly lights. They're LED and they've got a warm glow to them, and about every fifth light will blink on and off. But because so many lights are left solid, when you put it throughout the tree, it just looks like a random sparkle and twinkle, and it looks very nice. And then I add some color lights just to add a little bit more warmth, because when you start to add so much white, it gets a little heavy. I may or may not add those color lights. I think in years past, I felt it wasn't needed. So I know that I'll be adding a lot of white lights though. And again, they're warm white lights. I'm not a fan of the cool white lights because then it looks a little bit more high tech and it's harder on the eyes. And so your preference may vary and you do what you want, but this is the approach we're taking and I want to go ahead and show that to you. Okay, one of the best things that you can do for yourself in getting ready to decorate for Christmas is to store things away properly the year before. when you take down your tree, wrapping your ornaments or strapping your lights on something so that when they come out the next year, they are organized nicely. I have these reels. 3 reels go in a bag, and it's wonderful. Keeps everything from tangling, and the storage is nice then in my box. There's a lot of DIY options. You can cut some cardboard out, you can use hangers. There's different ways that you can create a way to sort your lights and keep them from tangling. But if this one interests you, I put a link below that you can check one out on Amazon. The tree is lit. Again, a reminder, the tree came with nearly 1,300 lights. As it turns out, I only added 400 of the white lights. What a trick to do as you're lighting is to squint your eyes, and if you see dark spots around the tree, then you can go and readjust where those wires go and the lights go. So, for example, this seems to be a little bit of a dark spot, so I'm going to adjust that in a moment to bring a little bit more light into that area. Additionally, you're going to hang some ornaments in some of those spots so that everything looks spread out evenly and is masked. I used to be much more picky about the wires. I notice now that when you've got all the ornaments on there, you don't notice them as much. The real obvious ones I tuck back in. And so that's the choice I've made as I've gotten older. I just have relaxed a little bit. Let's talk the garland, what you put on the tree. You maybe a string of popcorn, string of cranberries, it may be a string of wood beads, it may be a wide ribbon. For us, we decided years ago to buy strands of pearls. At the time, the 80s, when we got married, these elegant Victorian trees were just beautiful, and that's what we got. In the early 80s, we also did the wide ribbon like a lot of people did, but we no longer do that. But the pearls have stayed just as kind of a memory and just a beauty to the type of tree we have, because the ornaments that go on this tree are all family heirlooms. We buy additionally as we go on over the years, but this is not a themed tree with like all red or all silver. And so the pearls still work for this. But whatever you put on the tree to wrap, there are some principles you should think of. It's almost like an art composition and how you lay things out. Do you wrap them equally? Do you just make straight lines like spirals? We do the swags, and most things you would swag. So you've got to make sure that your swags aren't too even and too rigid. There's got to be some variety in them. They've got to go a little up and down along the branches. And then sometimes there's some wider loops, and at the top they're narrower loops. You'll see, I'll show you at the end as we do that, but that's some thought on how you lay out whatever it is you're stringing around your tree. go ahead and look at some of the principles here of how I laid them out. And frankly, I already see some corrections I need to make. And so I want to share with you why I think some changes need to be made. As you string the item along, whatever it is that you're stringing around the tree, you want to make it look kind of natural and loose and free. And so some of these sorts of ideas, when it comes, you don't want the loops and the peaks to always match. In fact, you rarely want them to match. And so you have to, maybe offset them a little bit. I also try not to lay the beads over lots of branches. Try to let them swag loosely and free. And sometimes they'll go under branches, particularly as you get to the lower area, and you put them around. Now, as I look up there, you can see the peaks and valleys match. And so I'm gonna go do a little bit of adjustment on that, and then I think that I'm done. Another thing that you want to watch is where they meet up. You want to try to make the beads or whatever it is have as little obvious of a joining as possible so that you don't just notice that from afar off. Now, obviously not everybody has the picky eye where they notice all those sorts of potential, what could be considered flaws. I'm one of those people, and maybe you are too. And so you want to try to minimize those types of little extra things that might make it less enjoyable to look at. Additionally, you can't have everything always go straight lines across. You have to start to go down to other tiers. So you do some step downs. You don't want to make the step down to the next lower level of the tree happen the same spot everywhere, because then it looks like on that side of the tree, it's just sort of this diagonal slope. And so you want to, again, be a little bit more freeform. One of the joys of collecting ornaments is that everyone has a story. Most of them were bought on trips or in special places. Sometimes they were just bought at stores because we thought they were beautiful and would fit. But most of the time they're on special trips, and every time you open the box and you go through the different ornaments, you're just reminded of all the special events and stories. During the Vlogmas coming up December 1st through 25th, I'm going to feature some ornament stories, but I thought I'd share this one with you right now. This is, as you can tell, is from Russia, or is the church in Russia, but I actually bought it in Moscow at the Gums department store right there next to Red Square. Beautiful and incredible hand-blown ornament. And it's just special. Every time I pull it out of the box, I'm taken back to Red Square, my first year, feeling so foreign, and everything was so different. And I'm a child of the 80s and the perestroika and the Cold War. And so to be there was so overwhelming. I just had to come back with some beautiful memories in the form of ornaments and other souvenirs and photos. But this one goes on my tree every year. Okay, so it's all decorated, and boy, was that a lot of work. Frankly, I don't really enjoy decorating the tree. All the boxes, getting them out, all of the fluffing and all of the lights and all the time it takes. It's not my favorite task, but it's worth it to me with the result. And so I just really love Christmas decorations. And so anything worth having is worth working for, and it takes some time. And I have a few principles now about how I've placed the ornaments that are one of the next tips of decorating a Christmas tree. Let's look at some of these ornaments now up close. Now there are a few principles of placing ornaments on the tree that I would like to share with you. The first is depth. You can see right here, some ornaments are right on the tips and some ornaments are deeper back in. Now, particularly, I think, like I have these nativity sets, they're nestled in. And I think that there is an intimacy by having some ornaments placed in deeper. When I was a child, my grandparents had trees and they had full-on marching band. Now their trees had 5-foot limbs. And so they went in 5 foot deep with some of their ornaments. But in here, I've got a nested birds back inside there. Or over here, I have a Victorian woman with her baby in a bassinet. And so placing some of these ornaments at different depths gives the tree, I think, some character rather than everything just sitting on the outside. Principle number 2 of ornaments. If you have a set of ornaments and when you've got these sets of ornaments, you obviously need to make sure that they are dispersed around the tree and not too close to each other on branches, or identical ornaments that maybe you have 2 of the same ornament. You want to make sure that they're not right next to each other. You want to compose your scene and not make something too heavy or stand out in an awkward way. The next principle is grouping ornaments that are similar. So I have these beautiful red glass ornaments that, because I've grouped them relatively close to each other, they bring a pop of that color to that section of the tree. Rather than them being dispersed, they're just as a story being told there. Or another one is over here. I have a small grouping of these cars. And so there's just a story there. Another set that I have are these Russian dolls that I got in Russia, a ballerina. Now they're not immediately next to each other where they just look a little awkward, but they are near each other so that when you're standing here, you have a sense, oh, what's unique about these dolls? If they were just by themselves and nothing around it to give it reference, it's just an ornament. But because there's a grouping, there's a little bit more of a story. Here, I've got a Disney ship and a Disney magic ornament that tells a story. We've got a lot of our travel ornaments over here of England and Rome. Some of those are grouped together. You don't have to overthink that, but I think it adds a little bit to the story. Another principle of the ornament is something on top, something hanging, and something really long. So we've got the short, something on top, and long. I love icicles. I feel that the icicles just add this length to the tree, just this cascading beauty. I frankly love tinsel, but I don't like the work of tinsel. When I was a kid, we had tinsel, and my mom always made the point, one at a time, and you've got thousands of these foil things. I want nothing of it. But I like the look. It adds this draping, cascading feel to it. So we have lots of long ornaments. Then we mix some shapes, round with patterns and bells. I don't put a bunch of rounds next to each other. I break up the shapes with that. And then, of course, as I said, there are some ornaments that sit on top and point upward. So you've got this artistic blend of styles to help break the look of the tree. And finally, you want to place smaller ornaments at top going to larger ornaments on the bottom. This helps keep the scale of the tree weighted properly and just looks nice, so it's not too heavy on the top. Okay, well, thank you for joining me on decorating this tree. Now, I can imagine what your reactions are. There are a number of you that would think, oh, that is a lovely tree. And I agree with you, I think it is. There are a number of you, though, and I've heard this over the years, that said too many lights, too many ornaments, too stylish or elegant. That's fine. Everybody has preferences. I'm not insulted by that in the least. We all have different preferences. Frankly, we have another tree in the house that is a Mickey Mouse tree. We've had Toyland trees with those themes of ornaments. And in any case, the point is I understand themes, I understand different styles of trees, and we all have that. But my hope is that even if this isn't your preference of style of tree, some of the principles of fluffing the branches or composing a scene or laying out the lights and mixing the colors or wrapping it with some sort of a garland of sorts. Or frankly, if you just have regular ornaments, you know, that you just want to put in, that you would recognize that maybe a bunch of rounds right next to each other when you have different shapes, that you should break those up. Those are all principles on any style and design of tree that you can apply. So I hope you find that useful. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you for watching and Merry Christmas to you. And I hope that you will like and subscribe. Leave some comments about what you liked, what your preferences of tree style, and that would be wonderful to start a dialogue of how much you love Christmas decorations. It's a lot of work, I get it. But I find it worth it. Thank you for being here. Goodbye.